Justin Trudeau is making a total ass of himself internationally. He's at the G20 summit and things are not going well for him. And in fact, it's gotten so bad that recently, of course, I'm sure you're aware, India News was like bombarding him with attack videos after attack videos because of all the controversy and things that he's done to basically sabotage the relations between Canada and India. But more recently, now Sky News is picking up the slack and they're making videos going after Justin Trudeau on top of all the backlash from the G20 summit. And to put everything with a cherry on top, you've got Parliament here in Canada is going completely bananas. You've got the House Speaker, Greg Fergus, who kicked out not only one, not only two, but three Conservative MPs out of Parliament immediately after question period. What the heck is going on? That's what all Canadians are wondering. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. Without further ado, let's start off with what the heck is going on just with Canadian news internationally. And if you're looking for the MPs getting kicked out, that's going to be at the literal end of the video, the last like 8 or so minutes. Let's begin. Got a lot of pressure on Randy Boissonnault to resign. Let's take a look.
Mr. Poilievre's call for your resignation.
Employment Minister Randy Boissonnault on the defense again.
I don't know the person in today's article. I've never had anything to do with him.
That article in the National Post says Boissonnault's former business shared a mailbox with someone detained in 2 major drug busts.
This is the behavior of a low-life fraud, not a federal cabinet minister. Simple question. How does that guy still have his job?
Mr. Speaker, despite the innuendo, here are the facts. I don't know the person in question. I never met that person in question. And Mr. Speaker, those are simply the facts.
Fresh calls for resignation for a minister already in the hot seat, following revelations his former medical supplies company claimed to be Indigenous-owned when bidding on a federal contract.
For him to say that in a company where he owns 50% of the business, that he didn't know that his business partner was making claims, false claims about the Indigenous identities of the business owners. This is not becoming of a parliamentarian. I
want to say unequivocally that I apologize.
Boissonnault apologized last week for contradicting statements about his family's Indigenous heritage.
See, like, what would you have to apologize for if you did nothing wrong? Like, this is crazy. I get that cancel culture forces people to apologize when facts have been mixed up and it's not necessarily their fault. But when it comes to this, if you absolutely did nothing wrong, Randy, there would be nothing to apologize for. Why not just get up in front of the cameras and say, I don't know how this got confused. I feel like, people are trying to weaponize things. This is crazy. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. You got caught doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. And now you're delivering collateral damage and trying to minimize how big of a scandal this turns out to be. But that's already left. Like, it's too late, right? The cat's out of the bag.
I'm amazed that this Randy Boissonnault scandal just continues to unfold. It's like this slow-moving car wreck we're watching.
Do you think Some colleagues defended Boissonnault.
Randy's served capably as the Minister of Employment. He's my seatmate in the House of Commons, and I think he's an able guy, and I think he's going to continue to add value to Parliament.
Others said it's up to him to clarify.
I think Randy will explain as he has already done that. He will explain his situation to whoever is interested in it.
Well, but what about you, though? That's not really an endorsement.
I think it's for Randy to continue explaining the circumstances. I'm sure he will keep doing it in the right way.
Boissonnault denies all allegations, saying his business partner worked alone when representing their company as Indigenous-owned. But the Conservatives plan to keep pushing this issue. And with the Prime Minister set to shuffle his cabinet before the next election, some are watching whether Boissonnault will keep his spot. Kate McKenna.
But here's the part that doesn't make any sense. His business partner isn't Indigenous or doesn't have Indigenous ties. The only one that has technically Indigenous ties is Randy's family, but he's adopted into a family that isn't Indigenous but has Indigenous ties to Cree. So it's like saying my cousin's friend's boyfriend's sister's distant relative is Indigenous, so I have ties to Indigenousness. Like, it's just not a good look all around. But again, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on that. This is the latest scandal, and it's just not looking good for the Liberals. And speaking of not looking good for the Liberals, we got to get into this video here of Justin Trudeau, who says that Canada supports Ukraine's long-range missile strikes and won't panic with the Trump administration. I think that is come and gone there, buddy boy. I think you are in panic mode. But anyways, let's take a look.
I've for months now talked about how important it is to degrade the capacity of the Russian military to strike into Ukraine with impunity, because Ukraine hasn't been able to strike on factories and military production sites in Russia. We have called for that for a while, so I think it's a good thing that the United States has done that and other partners are doing that. I had an excellent conversation with President Biden. He is a friend and an ally. We talked about a lot of different things, and we're going to continue to make sure we're working together in the coming months. There's a lot of speculation about what might happen after inauguration at the end of January, but between now and then, there's still an awful lot to do that we're very much focused on. I know that Ukraine was, I can tell you that Ukraine was brought up significantly by many, many people around the table, not just the G7. We are all extremely concerned about the impact of the destabilization of the rules-based order that Russia has engaged in. And that's why it is important, not just for Ukraine, but for democracies around the world, that we continue to step up. And we're very aware of potential challenges with President Trump coming in, but we're not going to panic. We're going to continue to stay focused on getting the support to Ukraine that Ukraine needs to win this war and establish peace.
Yeah. So this is something that people just don't agree with. I mean, we've spent almost $5 billion on Ukraine, and most Canadians just want this to end. There is no winner and loser. So far, everybody that's been involved with this war, either directly or indirectly, like us here in Canada, we've lost. We've lost $5 billion, whether that's given money like grants or just here, take it and defend yourself, or whether that is guised under loans, which is what the Canadian government has said. I don't know how war-torn Ukraine is ever going to repay that money plus interest, and to the United States, like, that just doesn't make any sense at all. They're not pumping out trillions and trillions of dollars. They're not a super strong powerhouse economy. Like, it's nonsense what's going on. And not to mention all of the deaths that are going to happen from just this ongoing war. Like, why push more war? Why not solve for peace? That's how you can tell who's on the right side of history and who's on the wrong side of history. All the warmongers, they're pretty much all left-wing radical nut jobs, but that's my opinion, and I'd like to know down in the comments what your guys' opinion is. And then we got to take a look here at Australian news, which is really picking on Justin Trudeau. I love this. It's a break from Indian news, and now we're going to take a look at Australian news. Here we go.
To Canada now, where after 9 years as Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau's approval rating has plummeted from the 63% way back in his heyday when he was first elected to just 23% in June of this year. It's continued to tumble. So with an election breathing down his neck coming up just next year, he's decided to back off on the record immigration his government has seen pour into Canada. Here he is saying, look, we could have acted faster, but I'm making a move now, so vote for me next year, people.
In the last 2 years, our population has grown really fast, like baby boom fast. And increasingly, bad actors like fake colleges and big chain corporations have been exploiting our immigration system for their own interests. So we're doing something major. We're reducing the numbers of immigrants that will come to Canada for the next 3 years.
So he's decided, better crack down on this, because all the polls in Canada are showing for the first time in a quarter century, the vast majority of Canadians are saying we've had enough with these record levels of immigration. And this guy just wants to get re-elected. Here is the head of the opposition, which I certainly hope will be the PM next year, Pierre Poilievre, taking Trudeau to task, saying, mate, you're the cause of the problem. Stop blaming these third-party actors. Oh, it's just bad people exploiting the system. Listen to what Pierre has to say and ask yourself, doesn't this sound like he's describing our government, the Labor government, the Albanese government, to a T?
So let's not turn our gaze away from the source of the problem, which is Justin Trudeau, who increased our population growth by 300% in a matter of a couple of years. By his admission, this isn't me, allowed massive fraud in international students, temporary foreign workers, and the refugee system. By his own admission, the Liberal immigration policies have caused massive housing, job, and healthcare shortages. And now he's basically denouncing his entire immigration policy and expecting us to believe that he can fix the problems that he caused.
Wow, massive housing, job and healthcare. Wow, it just reminded me so much of here back at home. But the amount of damage Pierre's going to be able to do at the polling booth next year on this issue, and we've seen this across the West. It was the case in the UK, but not so much. They just voted for change and they're not going to get it anytime soon. It was certainly successful in the US. Trump used that as a battering ram, and rightly so. I think Pierre, this is going to be another bastion of his campaign against Trudeau, because it goes without saying, all the polls are already showing this is what the people want, and which Canadians are going to be dumb enough to believe that the guy who created the problem is going to be
the guy to solve it. Yeah, I mean, he's been doing this for 9+ years, and we have just gone down a shitty spiral. And now he's claiming, less than 1 year before the election, that he's the guy to solve it? Give me a freaking break. Are you freaking nuts?
Be the guy to fix it.
Do you think we can put this down to the Trump effect a little bit?
Perhaps. I mean, Pierre has already been called very much a Trumpian figure. Yes. He's very famous for chewing on apples while talking to reporters, questioning them on their questions, getting them to trip all over themselves. So he's very much already seen as a very Trumpian figure. But again, I think this is, and we've talked about across the EU as well, this is played out beautifully in the Netherlands, in Hungary, in Poland, all the parties that say we are running on an anti-immigration policy because we've been flooded and we're absolutely sick of it, those are the guys getting voted in.
I just love the gaslighting by Justin Trudeau. I mean, the way he sort of sits down in the chair. He's the guy who's just set fire to every house in the street. And then he calls everyone together for a chat about fire safety. It's just incredible the front that he has. And of course, if you criticised his immigration policy, you were denounced as a racist. And this is another thing that has a commonality right across the Western world. Do you remember it wasn't that long ago that our own Laura Tingle accused Peter Dutton of stirring up racism by daring to suggest that high immigration was putting pressure on housing? And Laura Tingle imagined that people are going to go down to, bid on a home or apply for a rental, and they're going to see someone of a different skin colour and automatically blame them for the fact that you can't get dwelling in Sydney or wherever. And so we've been denounced as racists for pointing out what Justin Trudeau is now saying. Oh, actually, we do have an issue, but don't worry, having caused the problem, now you can trust me to fix it.
Which would be to say that the majority of Canadians are racist. Now, I'm sure Trudeau may well believe that, and certainly some people on the left would believe that, but all the polling does now show that the majority of Canadians believe that immigration is too high. I'm generally willing to give politicians credit when they admit they get things wrong. But on this count, I have to say...
It's totally self-serving.
It's the most obvious economic principle, supply and demand. What do you think is going to happen when you increase demand significantly when you don't have the supply to keep up with it? You end up with housing crises. You end up with cost of living crises. On and on it goes. You end up with a lower standard of living. Justin Trudeau, even the person with the lowest IQ on the planet, could work out the most basic stuff. Which
that's Justin Trudeau.
I'll give him a little more credit than that because he is a communist. You do need a couple of brain cells to understand communism to begin with. But he should have been able to see this coming. Any Western leader should have been able to see this coming. Anthony Albanese should have been able to see this coming. The reason that Trudeau, like Albanese, jacked up immigration so much was to fudge the economic numbers because they know that if they didn't have such massive population growth in the last few years, they likely would have gone into recession. We've been in effective recession for a long time, but the numbers don't show we're in recession because we keep propping it up with the population figures, right? And then he goes to an election, oh, no, it's not popular, I better walk it all back. Good luck to you.
I agree with everything you just said, except,
So I was watching an interview about Canadian media, like on CTV or something like that, and I believe I put out a video about it where if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything. And this is massive what Justin Trudeau is doing with immigration, pulling back on immigration. Like, hey, kudos. Yeah, like I support it. I'm down for that. But the liberal pillars, their values, who they are as people, as a party, is extremely pro-immigration. And the fact that they are pulling back like this moments before an election to try and farm more voters goes to show that they are weak-spined. They don't actually care about their policies. They're just trying to farm votes in any way, shape, or form that they possibly can. It literally goes against things that Justin Trudeau was spewing 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, a year ago, where he was so pro-immigration. I'm for him pulling back on immigration. I think that it's long overdue, and I don't think that they're doing enough. But the fact that he's now doing it when 6 months ago it was like, hey, anyone who's against immigration is a racist. Okay, Trudeau, you're, I guess, a racist now. Not only have you done blackface, but you're against immigration? I mean, it's such a weird about turn on his entire, like, core values. It's so weird.
No, you give him a bit of grace because maybe he's a politician who genuinely is admitting, what, we got it wrong. But that was a 7-minute video, right?
Genuinely admitting he got it wrong.
Well, I'm just saying it's a 7-minute video, and within 10 seconds he's saying unscrupulous colleges, businesses taking advantage. I don't think he was really admitting much fault.
It's rather funny, though, because for the longest time he's called everyone who opposed this mass immigration to Canada racist. So you got to ask yourself, does this make you a racist now? You're amongst the people that you have opposed for so long.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Trudeau, man. You got media all across the world that is picking on him. And again, he's not the guy for the job. He should absolutely resign. We should call an election. We should fix our country simultaneously with America, with Trump being president and the Avengers team that he's building. It's really going to hurt us having a cuck like Justin Trudeau in power while you have while you still have Justin Trudeau. Like they're just not going to see eye to eye. Trudeau's going to puff out his chest, and it's going to backfire on us, on the taxpayers. Anyways, we got another clip here pulled up. This is about the federal government is accusing post-secondary schools of taking advantage of Canada's immigration program. It's got nothing to do with Justin Trudeau's policies. Now the blame is being put on the bad actors, right? Post-secondary education institutions.
Now, before he left for Brazil and the G20, Prime Minister Trudeau put out a video where he admits to errors in Canada's immigration program, saying there are bad actors who took advantage and abused the system. CTV's Andrew Johnson is here now. So, okay, Andrew, break it down for us. What exactly are the specifics?
Sandy, the federal government is taking some responsibility for not reining in immigration sooner. Trudeau and the minister involved are also accusing some post-secondary schools of taking advantage of that.
Immigration. Let's talk about it.
In the 7-minute video, the Prime Minister lays out the reasons the government turned on the taps to more immigrants in the wake of the pandemic labor shortages. He says looking back, the feds could have restricted immigration more quickly. But he's also blaming big box stores and chain restaurants for exploiting immigrants. And Trudeau says too many post-secondary institutions used international students to bolster their bottom line.
Because they could charge these students tens of thousands of dollars more for the same degree.
Many Canadian universities are now facing multi-million-dollar budget shortfalls due to a reduction in international enrollment after Ottawa cut the number of student visas issued by 35%. The immigration minister said recently the schools ought to shoulder part of the blame.
Who did what with the money? What purpose was that used for the institutions that have bolstered their or filled their coffers on the backs of international students?
Multiple universities and colleges are now laying off staff. Educators say students will have fewer courses to choose from. The minister says schools need to adapt and acknowledges the next year or two will be, quote,
Okay, that's the end of the video. Kind of a abrupt ending from their mainstream media broadcast, but I mean, he's blaming literally everybody except taking accountability himself. It's bananas. Like, dude, you're the prime minister. You're the one that put into place all of these policies. Now, I don't agree that, secondary, post-secondary institutions in Canada should be, taking advantage of the system, but you made the policies for them to take advantage of. And you've had 9 years to tweak it and to work on it. And now, instead of taking responsibility for your own just shitty policies and lack of transparency and gaslighting and manipulation, now, right before an election, Justin Trudeau's passing the blame to other people. It falls in line with who he is as a person, a slimy piece of crap. Now that we're all caught up with the news, we have to take a look at what the heck happened in the most recent Parliament sitting where Greg Fergus abused his power and kicked out not one, not two, but 3 Conservative MPs, which is something that I have never seen before. For those that are just tuning in, Greg Fergus is kicking out 3 Conservative MPs for statements that they made during today's question period, and they are refusing to retract them, such as calling, Randy fraud, cocaine Randy, fake Indigenous Randy, just things like that, things that are truthful. And I saw in the comments of the live chat that is phenomenal. Someone said there is a price to pay for telling the truth, and this is the best example that could ever be on display.
Colleagues, I was coming to the point. The Honourable
Conservatives stayed, Liberals left.
Nose Hill is rising on a point of order. The Honourable Member.
Speaker, earlier you issued an admonishment stemming from a quote in the National Post from a Cree lawyer who noted that the Minister of Employment committed identity fraud when he falsely claimed Indigenous heritage. The Minister's company falsely claimed Indigenous ownership and subsequently received government contracts. What word would you suggest Indigenous persons use to describe the minister?
I'm not certain if that's a point of order. The point of order which I was going to be coming to the Honourable Member of Calgary Nose Hill was that she had used the term, which is not appropriate in this place, to call another honourable member fraudulent. As it happened during question period, another honourable member did the same thing and withdrew the comment. I invite the honourable member from Calgary Nose Hill to please simply withdraw the use of that word in reference to a specific member of Parliament, a colleague of all of ours.
As recorded in the Hansard on February 9th, 2023, the member from Mirabel referred to the Prime Minister as a fraud. No admonishment was issued. Why are you admonishing me today?
This debate, I'm asking the honourable member if she would please
not put me on the spot like that.
Please withdraw the simple comment on the use of that word in reference to another honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, I was quoting an Indigenous person as it pertained to identity fraud by the Minister.
One last
bro, he's speechless.
You would please withdraw the use of that word in reference to a particular member. I do not see the honourable member rising. Ms. Rempel-Garner, I have to name you for disregarding the authority of the chair. Pursuant to the authority granted to me by Standing Order 11, I order you now to withdraw from the House from any participation by video conference.
He just kicked her out.
Electronic voting system for the remainder of this day's sitting.
He just kicked her out. He just kicked out Michelle Rempel-Garner.
I would also, the chair also said they would come back to I want to also refer to an issue which was raised earlier today by the chair when the member from Regina Capel had used the words weak fake Indigenous man gets to keep his job after lying. Upon reflection and after some research, I am prepared to let fake slide, but will insist, as I did during QP, to not allow lying to be used. So I invite, and the honourable member from Regina Capel, did you already withdrew?
Dude, there is something wrong with this House Speaker.
Yeah. And I thank the honourable member for having done that, and we'll move on from there. I wish to return to a point of order raised yesterday concerning language that was alleged to be used by the member for Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes. While the comment doesn't apply in yesterday's debates, the member seemed to acknowledge having made the remark in response to his point of order. Again, it is possible to ask pointed questions and to criticize the government's actions without resorting to personal insults. I would then ask the honourable member from Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes to please withdraw that comment. The honourable member.
Speaker, the Minister for Employment has said there's more than one Randy, and I maintain that that I was referring to the other Randy as Cocaine Randy.
Except that we're not the other.
He putting on the spot, and he's at a loss for words.
Lead up to that point would not lend credence to that, and the chair interpreted it as being referenced to a particular member. Out of respect to this chair, and by extension to all members of this House, I'm going to ask the honourable member from Leeds Grenville to please withdraw that comment.
They switched it to French. I don't think he muted it on purpose.
I'll ask the honourable member once again for a third time if he would please do the honourable thing and withdraw that comment in reference to an honourable member. Mr. Barrett, I have to name you for disregarding
He's getting kicked out.
Pursuant to the authority granted to me under Standing Order 11, I order you to withdraw from the House and from any participation by video conference or by electronic voting systems for the remainder of the day's.
Mon Dieu! Guys, what the heck is going on?
I have one more issue to raise from question period.
He just kicked out 2 Conservative MPs.
Regarding, colleagues, I'm not certain if this is the level and standard of behavior that Canadians expect us to have. It is important for us to respect this place, respect the Speaker on behalf of yourselves.
Dude, you're insane. You're a dictator.
We do this in an appropriate fashion. So I'm going to ask the honourable member from South Shore St. Margaret's, who earlier today had used the word corrupt in regarding to a particular member. I'd ask the member if he would please withdraw that comment and
he's not going to. He's going to get kicked out.
He partially did that, and I would like to invite the honourable member if he would just make a simple withdrawal of that comment so that we can proceed with the rest of the day.
Don't do it.
I rephrased my question. Can I ask him again?
I ask the honourable member if you would please stand in this place to rephrase the question, just withdraw the word so that we can move on and continue with the day thing. I'll ask the honourable member from South Shore St. Margaret's if you would do so. Mr. Perkins.
There you go.
I have to name you for disregarding the authority of the chair. Pursuant to the authority granted to me by Standing Order 11, I order you to withdraw from the House and from any participation by video conference or by electronic voting system for the remainder of this day's sitting.
Third one. That's insane. Wow. He should be fired. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes today's video. If you enjoyed it, which I hope you did, I hope you consider dropping a like on the video as well as subscribing. It does really help grow the channel. We're pretty close to 430,000 subscribers, and it would mean the world to me if we got there sooner than later. And that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.